somebody was arrested, a guy called Andrew Love in America. He was a store clerk from Florida. He was arrested for wearing the shirt, and he faced up to a year in prison for wearing it. Now, do you agree with that? Would you imprison someone for a year for wearing a band t-shirt?
In the wake of the critical and commercial success of their second album, Dusk and Her Embrace, extensive international touring kept the momentum going while Cradle of Filth watched more films and read more books and engaged themselves in composing even more music. Although previously the band had described themselves as supreme vampiric evil and their music as gothic black metal, months of solid gigging combined with the fresh blood of yet another lineup change had made Cradle of Filth realise that they were now growing out of the glib labels that had been attached to them. On the touring front, Cradle of Filth travelled extensively throughout Europe and crossed the Atlantic for the first time for one prestigious live appearance at the 1997 Milwaukee Metal Festival alongside legends Venom, inspirational overlords of the black metal scene. The United States provided the perfect playground for Danny Filth and his cohorts as the moral majority came out in force. Cradle of Filth thus arrived in the States amidst a fanfare of tabloid controversy. Having recently ungraced the cover of the London Mirror, the demigods were out to brutally intimidate those of weak mind and body. 1997 was quite a year for Cradle of Filth when it came to scandal. Most notably, there were a number of legal disputes regarding items available through the band's own merchandising company, Vampirotica. Quite apart from the extreme nature of Cradle of Filth's music and the band's image, just imagine grown men dressed as vampires, complete with ashen corpse face paint. The band were keenly aware that the best way to market yourself was with a nifty line in t-shirts. To call the designs provocative and offensive would be a gross understatement. One of their most infamous was virtually an invitation for the forces of law and order to get involved in policing street fashions. The Vestal Masturbation t-shirt featured a semi-naked nun pleasuring herself on the front, whilst the back boldly stated, "Jesus is a cunt." Needless to say, it became one of their best sellers. Other delightful designs, such as "Dead Girls Don't Say No" and "Suck My Blood and Fuck My Soul," were merely tasteless in comparison. In interviews, the desire to provoke any kind of public reaction, to stimulate debate on the hypocritical nature of Judeo-Christian society, the band would argue, meant they went out of their way to offend everyone from environmentalists to church groups with their rent-a-mouth quotes. Things eventually came to a head when a 29-year-old Cradle of Filth fan by the name of Rob Kenyon was arrested by the police in the red light district of Soho, London, for wearing the band's controversial Vestal Masturbation t-shirt. He was unjustly convicted and fined the ridiculous amount of £150, but lost his right to appeal against the judgment because he was unemployed and couldn't afford the legal fees to fight back against the authorities. For Cradle of Filth, it was an issue of censorship. In another incident, band member Nicholas Barker was himself arrested whilst the band were on their way to perform at the Dynamo Festival in Belgium, when an overzealous Christian policeman took personal offence to the said garment. Cradle of Filth's immediate reaction was to continue to print the t-shirt, even when across the Atlantic, the Catholic League of New York called for it to be banned. According to the band members, the sole purpose of the shirt was to cause a satirical reaction. Some people, though, just couldn't see the satirical side of it. Cradle of Filth were by now no strangers to the world of shocking propaganda. Yet, despite concerted persistent legal attempts to curb their activities, the band showed no indication of slowing or toning their act down. The band's visual image was now so OTT that even the British music press had to pull the plug on them. Heavy metal rock bible Kerrang! Was even forced to pull an intended front cover group photograph of Cradle of Filth when the magazine's distributors found the photograph likely to cause offence. The intended front cover of Kerrang! Featured a blood-spattered image of Danny and Nicholas. It was all very ironic, given the fact that inside the issue, the respective feature dealt with freedom of expression and censorship.